Hi guys, how's it going? Good morning once again. Thank you for watching, especially to all the new subscribers. Definitely going to keep putting out videos as frequently as possible. Well, today I want to talk about 3 topics. And there's the first one I'm pretty sure a lot of people haven't even heard about. And it's disturbing, but at the same time, we need to be aware that this kind of crap is going on, especially if you're involved in breaking information. If you're a journalist, if you're doing work where you're gathering information other people aren't privy to, listen up, because you need to pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. There's this woman, her name was Bree Payton, okay? And Bree Payton did a lot of work for a conservative website called The Federalist, okay? And she was working on a lot of stuff that other people wouldn't touch. Now, the latest thing that she was working on was the Peter Strzok text messages that were deleted by Mueller off Lisa Page's phone that went missing when she left the FBI, which also goes against all protocol. She's supposed to turn all that stuff in. However, she never ended up turning it in. In fact, when she was dismissed, they didn't go through the proper protocol of getting that hardware back from her. She told them that she left both her laptop and her cell phone in her office on top of a filing cabinet. Well, they managed to recover the laptop, however, the cell phone just mysteriously disappeared. Now, eventually, that cell phone made its way into the hands of Robert Mueller, and Robert Mueller decided to delete all of these text messages. And that plays into my second topic. However, we have to cover this one with Bree before we can even get into everything that happened prior to what is going on with her. So, she decides that she's going to write an article about this and break all of this information, okay, which I commend her for. Not a lot of people are willing to go to the extent that she went to make sure this information was getting fed to the public. Now, what she did is she decided to go around and do a series of talk shows and interviews and stuff like this to expose the fact that all of this went on, and that there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with Huber as well, which is what she was looking into before she died. Now, mysteriously, this woman is very, very healthy. Beautiful woman before she passed away, right? And God rest her soul, she went out to San Diego to hang out with a friend, and she was staying at her friend's house after doing an interview. Now, the reason I bring up this interview is because it's the last time anybody heard from her publicly. So she posted on Twitter that she was going to be able to be seen doing this video, this interview. And she had one person reply to her, and she responded, right? And that was the last anybody ever heard from her. Now, this is where things get very interesting. That's the last anybody from the public heard from her. So, she goes to her friend in San Diego because I'm assuming she's out there doing work, and it would make sense. So she's out there doing work, staying at her friend's house. Now, her friend goes into her room on a Friday morning, I believe, and finds her unconscious in her bed. Now, he proceeds to call 911. And they rush her to the hospital and put her into an induced coma. Rush her up to ICU, and then they spend hours doing tests like they should, right? Well, they find out that she has meningitis and the H1N1 virus. Now, what I'm asking you is, how does a perfectly healthy woman in her 20s, who not only takes care of herself, but would never consent to a vaccine based on other Twitter postings that she's had referring to vaccines as the works of the devil. That's pretty much a quote. So you know this woman didn't go out and get the flu shot, which has an H1N1 component in it, right? You know she didn't inject that into her body. And then on top of that, she contracts meningitis, according to the doctors from the hospital. However, this completely conflicts with her family's report saying that it was a different form of meningitis. I think it was meningitis or something like that, and not meningitis. So her family is telling us that she didn't have meningitis, but she had some other kind of problem. So why all the discrepancies? Why is the hospital putting out one set of records saying that she had the H1N1 flu virus as well as meningitis, when her family is saying she had H1N1 and some other kind of ailment like meningitis, but it wasn't? So they're getting the stories conflated there. The information doesn't match. Now, if you put this into perspective and you start putting the pieces together, you realize that this happens over and over again. There was a doctor that was working for the CDC who mysteriously wound up poisoned. God knows what he was looking into or what he was working on, because they never told us. You have the Seth Rich murder, which makes absolutely no sense. Somebody mugged him. He took 2 bullet shots, and then he has his wallet and all his cash still on him, plus his jewelry. Nothing stolen, not his credit cards, nothing about his identity. Everything was left there so you could identify the guy. Doesn't make any sense at all, right? Now, this ties directly into what's been going on with the Huber case. Now, everybody wants to say that Huber is a globalist, yada, 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 yada. Well, I also want to bring up the fact that people have been saying that this information with Q isn't relevant, nothing's happening, yada, yada, yada. Throw Q out the window right now, okay? Throw him out the window, because shit is happening like crazy. Huber is directly responsible for 26 high-ranking officials in the FBI either resigning, quitting, or being reassigned because they're under internal investigation. It is absolutely unprecedented in the United States of America. Okay, now what most people don't realize is Huber was only tasked with 2 things: looking into the Hillary Clinton emails, okay, and then looking into the FISA warrants and how they were illegally obtained. Now, my question is, why would Huber release anything to do with these 60,000 text messages that he came out and said he found after the FBI said they were lost and unrecoverable? Okay, if Huber was a globalist, I'm just using logic here, if Huber was a globalist, why would he go out of his way to shoot down the FBI's narrative? And this is after he spent a year dismantling the FBI from within, getting rid of 26 people, okay? 26 people that had their hands in everything. Everything. Now, at the same time that all of this is going on with Huber, you have Mueller, who's ready to release his report. Now, this is where it gets very, very interesting. Now, people that say nothing is happening need to pay attention, because this is where I'm going to prove to you everything is happening. And the beautiful thing is, I don't even have to point to Q to do it. Okay. This wasn't covered at all by the mainstream media. You know why? Because it absolutely shoots their narrative a new asshole. Okay? So, not 1, not 2, but 3 whistleblowers came out about the Hillary Clinton Foundation and sat down in front of Congress. Now, Huber was supposed to be there, and this is the genius chess move that nobody understands. Huber gave away all of the information that we were looking for when he was going to show up by not showing up. So with this, by Huber not showing up, it allowed these 3 whistleblowers, 2 of them in front of Congress, to absolutely drop a nuclear bomb on Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. They confirm without a doubt that Bill and Hillary Clinton were using the money from the Clinton Foundation for personal use, okay? And not only that, they proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, based on their over 6,000 documents that Huber has, by the way, that Congress isn't allowed to see because Huber's not giving it to him, and I'm going to get to why that's not happening in a second. But there's 6,000 documents that these people constantly refer to about how the Hillary Clinton Foundation is already under investigation, and how Bill and Hillary Clinton have been putting money aside in a slush fund, setting it aside for senior players at the Hillary Clinton Foundation. And what that means is Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea are the only ones that have access to that slush fund. And not only that, they prove unequivocally that the Hillary Clinton Foundation is operating as a foreign agent without being registered to the United States of America as such, which means it violates its 501c3 as a charitable organization. And not only that, by them getting involved in partisan politics, there is no way that they can't be held under federal law for being involved in bipartisan politics as a charitable foundation, because you're not allowed to come out and voice your opinion as a charitable foundation previous to Trump coming in. So that means that before Trump came in and changed the rules, if you were a charitable foundation, like if you were a church and you were getting a tax break as a 501c3, you were not allowed to be vocal about who you wanted to be elected because you were receiving an incentive from the government, right? Now, if the Hillary Clinton Foundation was also a 501c3, are they not also privy to falling under the same laws as churches would have been? And what's funny is Obama went after churches for this. So by Huber not showing up, and I'm going to give you the reason why Huber didn't show up for these whistleblowers, and he was supposed to. This was the play from the very beginning. Huber was never going to show up, and everybody that set this meeting up knew Huber wasn't going to show up, because as soon as these two people that sat down in front of Congress and said the Hillary Clinton Foundation is under federal investigation, that told us right away that Huber is prosecuting people, because Huber would not be allowed to sit down in front of Congress and discuss an ongoing prosecution. So what they did by allowing these two people, these two whistleblowers, to sit down and drop a nuclear bomb all over Hillary Clinton Foundation, they also verified that Huber's coming after them with federal prosecution, and there's no doubt about it. Otherwise, Huber would have sat down and gave Congress those 6,000 documents, but he didn't. And you know why he didn't? Because there's indictments pending on all of these people, just like I told you in my previous posts and my previous broadcasts. And you know what else this proves? This proves that the Q information, whether it be coming from the deep state or it be coming from the white hats, is relevant no matter how you look at it. We're either being played by it or we're being given insider information. And anybody that's going to sit here and tell me I don't understand the difference between public and private information, I understand it clearly. If I can get my hands on it, it's public information. I'm not privy to anything private. So understand right now that I'm basing everything I say on the logic that I'm perceiving from the reality around me. As messed up as that reality may be, it's the truth. And the reason people don't want to believe this is going on is because they're not opening their eyes to what's going on around them, okay? How many Republican congressmen and senators have disappeared in the last 2 years? You're going to tell me nothing's been happening. How many Supreme Court justices has Trump appointed? And you're telling me nothing's happening. Wake up, man. Wake up and realize that everything you're seeing is unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. This has never happened in the United States before. We're sitting at 68,000 sealed indictments right now. That number went up by over 10,000 in less than a week. Not to mention, you're going to sit here and tell me nothing's happening. It's because they're not reporting on it. You do realize that 8 people from New York were freaking indicted yesterday and arrested, and their indictments were unsealed. Their indictments were unsealed. They work for Child Protective Services, and they were arrested for human trafficking. Does this have any coincidence that it happened just a couple days after? Just a couple days after this executive order comes into effect, like I've been talking about for the last week. I don't think there's a coincidence there. Not at all. This executive order hits, and now all of a sudden people are getting arrested for child trafficking? No coincidence at all. Now, I'm going to sum everything up today with something people really need to pay attention to, because it went over a lot of people's heads. They didn't see it at all. So Trump today was sitting in the Oval Office, and did anybody see what he had on his desk? He had a picture of him on a movie poster that was themed like Game of Thrones, and it said, "Sanctions are coming." Now, most people just thought he was throwing this up to troll the media or whatever, because he used this poster in reference to sanctions with Iran, right? Well, what most people don't realize is there's such a thing as criminal sanctions as well, okay? Now, a criminal sanction can range anywhere from the death penalty to community service. I don't think it's community service, my friends. And there's no way that Trump is getting out in front of the nation and putting this poster on his desk for no reason. Now, what's interesting about this poster is the original poster said November 5th, okay? Now, Trump changed the date on this poster and put November 4th, okay? And now, if you go look at Twitter posts from Trump on November 4th, and some of them preceding, they directly relate to the time frame where Trump was referring to treason, and when he put that meme up with Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, Loretta Lynch, and all these people behind bars on his Twitter. There's way too many coincidences for you to tell me that this information isn't relevant. You can believe whatever you want. You can put yourself in whatever paradigm you want. I'm here to offer you the world the way I see it, and I'm making my conclusions based on observation and logic. I'm not placing my faith in Q. I don't place my faith in any man. I only fear two things: God and a government that's in control by Democrats or socialists or the left, period, the end. Those are the only two things I fear. And a lot of people ask, if Republicans trust God, why do we walk around with guns on our hips? And it's a simple answer: because we don't trust the left. I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to leave you with the fact that you're going to sit here and tell me that this information isn't relevant and I'm talking out of my ass, and that's fine. I understand it's just a small majority of the people watching these videos. All of you that have been supporting me, I greatly appreciate it. I would have never thought in a million years that I'd have this kind of interaction on videos. Anybody that's willing to sit here and listen to me speak for 17 minutes, man, I give you credit, because I can ramble sometimes, but I hope I'm presenting information that you find relevant. And if not, let me know. And anybody that says I'm crazy, you just need to open your eyes and look at the world around you. Have a nice day. God bless.